Hi guys. I'm finally here to talk about, the best anime that came out last year. And this video was supposed to come out a while ago. It's a bit late now, but you know what? That's okay. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it all the same. So let's just jump into it. Demon Slayer Season 2 kicked off this year with a bang, showing us that we shouldn't be settling for normal ass animation when we can have this. Following the events of the Mugen Train movie, our heroes meet up with a new Hashira that brings them with them on a hunt for some upper moon demons. While the first few episodes of the season were honestly pretty slow and kinda boring, it ended up becoming one of the greatest seasons of anime I've ever even seen by the end of it. Now, because of the events in Mugen Train, we know just how powerful these demons can be when they go all out, which makes them all the more threatening while you're going through this season. While Daki as a villain herself was never really the biggest or scariest threat in the world, when she calls out Gyotaro to help her out, you instantly feel the pressure of just this sheer intensity. You can instantly tell that this isn't someone to be fucking around with, and you start to worry for Uzui, which is the Hashira that we just met. But let's be honest, none of all that really matters in the end, at least not nearly as much as this. I mean, come on, this in and of itself should be able to explain how good of a season this was. I mean, like, god damn! This year had just started and Ufotable were already setting literally a new standard of quality for anime going forward. Now that's some actual wild shit. AOT Season 4 Part 2 was one of the most hype shows as it was airing. I mean, come on, bro. You're telling me in the same day I get to watch some gorgeous animation from Demon Slayer, and then directly after I can experience this amazing story that just keeps getting more and more crazy as it keeps going on? That was certainly a time to be alive. But enough of me reminiscing. This season of AOT had some of the most insane moments of all time in just its short 12 episodes. I mean, I obviously can't talk too much about it because, I don't want to spoil this incredible story for anyone, but just for those who have seen it, that part where the one phase member hits that sick ass kill cam and all the events that just happen as a result of that one moment, just oh god, so good. And when we learn the truth of Eren and his just manipulation towards all these things, it's quite possibly my favorite plot twist of all time. But even if we take out how goated of a story this is, there's just so many more aspects that make this season of AOT stand out, such as the new opening and ending songs. It is seriously crazy how they're able to start the episodes off with such a hype and energetic opening with the rumbling, and then end it with such a beautiful song at the end. I genuinely don't know how they're going to top these when AOT Season 4 Part 17 Version 2 Core 3 comes out. But I really hope they somehow can, because just these songs were perfect enough as it is, so if we could get even better, oh man dude, we would be eating good. But yeah, unfortunately, as much as I want to get super in-depth to Attack on Titan, I might do it in a separate video or something, but just because of spoiler reasons, I'm not going to here. But just, if you haven't checked out Attack on Titan by now, come on, bro, you've got to give it a shot. It gets so good, especially towards the end, just, oh man, it gets even better and better the further you go along. Seriously can't recommend it enough. Give it a try. Up next, I want to talk a little bit about Spy Family. Spy Family is everything you'd want from a shonen action series when it tries to be serious, but also super cute and fun when it wants to just be more tame. It's the perfect combination of badass and adorable that doesn't ever really feel like it leans towards one side too much. The show follows an incredibly gifted spy with one of the most yaoi names I've ever heard, Twilight, as he's tasked with his newest objective, which is to start a fake family and have the daughter enlist in the school that this show's version of Hitler's son goes to, so that way she can befriend him and the spy dude can then have an easy way to see and assassinate that Hitler dude. Yeah, it's kind of fucking crazy when I say it out loud like this. But yeah, even with that kind of honestly dark concept, it's an extremely goofy show that really just focuses on the interpersonal relationships of Lloyd, Yor, and Anya. It's extremely wholesome, and I would definitely recommend to give this show a try if you're not really looking for anything too serious and you're more just looking for something fun and chill. But yeah, that's really all I got to say about Spy Family, and it's definitely got to be one of the best comfort shows that's come out in the last few years. So yeah, check it out. Would highly recommend. Since we're already on the topic of spies, have you ever thought of wanting to cross James Bond with anime girls? No? Well, perfect! Licorice Recoil is exactly that. A nice little fun adventure with some sick-ass moments. I gotta say, compared to last year where I was watching more like lesser known shows such as Odd Taxi and Wonder Egg Priority, this is really the only show from this year that I watched that I would classify as like underground. But let me tell you, it has certainly exceeded any expectations I had for it going into it. So, we know it's about anime girl spies, but what is the actual plot, you might be asking? Well, I'd be happy to answer that for you. Basically, there's this organization that trains up teenage girls from an early age to be perfect killing machines and are similar to a Black Ops agency, where they're meant to do their missions out in secrecy. The main girl Takina is on one of her missions when suddenly an ally is taken hostage and is about to be shot. She's ordered to stand by, but rejects the order and kills all the bad guys, saving the hostage. But because of her defiance to the higher-ups, is kicked out of the agency and relocated to work at a cafe where she then meets her new partner going forward. And pretty much from there, it's just a simple fun story about spy missions with some of the nicest looking action scenes from this whole entire year. But the thing that really sold me on this show wasn't the cool looking action scenes, it's the friendship between the two main leads. They perfectly nailed Chisato and Takina's relationship. They're the perfect example of that fun person and serious person cliche that's been done a million times, but you learn very quickly how these characters have a lot more depth behind them than you'd initially believe, and they never really feel like they're one-dimensional or boring. And just the way their friendship grows throughout the series is a really fun experience to watch, and I'd highly recommend it. Because look, even when you're taking out all these positives, where else are you gonna find a show that can go from this to this, and then back to this? You're not gonna find this type of shit anywhere else. Oh god, a sports anime. Oh god, I already know this is gonna be a pain to convince all the shonen fanboys out there to watch this, but you know what, I'm gonna try anyway. And hey, because of how good Japan did in the World Cup, a lot of people actually ended up giving the show a try, so maybe this won't be as hard as I thought. And as a manga reader, I can just confirm that this show gets more and more goated as the story goes on. It's just crazy to me how in sports anime they always have like this unspoken rule that each one needs to be about the power of teamwork and friendship and working together and all that crap. But Blue Lock decides to take this really cool spin on the idea and focuses on more egotistical aspects of the sporting world. Yes, you could pass the ball to your teammate right there and bank on him scoring, but how can you properly rely on them? You don't know if they'll take a bad touch, lose control of the ball, maybe they just take a bad shot. Point is that you can't control the actions of another player. You have to become good enough and be confident enough in yourself as to score those kinds of goals. And that's the whole point of the Blue Lock facility in the first place. To be able to refine and strengthen the talents of the newer generation of soccer players to create one final absolute machine of a player that'll finally win Japan the World Cup. It's genuinely such a fresh and unique way of presenting the normal, just overdone way that sports animes are normally presented as nowadays. Consider giving this a try. I promise you'll be hooked by the first episode. Okay, so here we are, I guess. This is gonna pain me to say, but Chainsaw Man isn't my pick for anime of the year. Don't get me wrong, it was incredible, and honestly, everything I could have even hoped for, but the only thing keeping it back is just the simple fact that this season only covered the first half of the manga, which is the end of the Katana Man arc, and my 3 favorite arcs are literally the only 3 that are left that weren't animated. So I'm just not completely satisfied yet. Plus, also, my number 1 pick is just genuinely that perfect and just absolutely deserves it, so. But hey, enough about that. So, if you know anything about me, Chainsaw Man is my favorite manga I've ever read, and I've been hyping my friends up on it for what seems like ages now. And I gotta say, Studio Mappa has outdone themselves here. Some of these shots are fucking crazy, and it's just absolutely nuts how they're able to draw some of these just smaller details with such perfect precision. But anyway, let's talk about the story. The story that it starts with is just a classic tried and true formula of a man gets powerful demons stuck inside him and therefore gains all his powers. And, you know, it's kind of generic, but it's what they do with that concept going forward that I love so much. One thing I love about the show is that it does not stick to the typical shonen formula at all, and is instead just insanely creative in its world and all types of twists and turns that you just learn throughout this journey, and characters will die that you think that they were setting up for far more importance. Characters will do shady things, or even pull just some dick moves that wouldn't happen in a normal shonen for fear that, like, oh, well, people won't like my character anymore since I made them do this fucked up thing. But Fujimoto just doesn't care. And also, just the characters in general are just so well written. Every character genuinely feels like a real person in this world instead of just feeling like an anime character. It's crazy how fast and easily Fujimoto is able to make you care for these characters, and that's why he's my favorite mangaka of all time, quite frankly. Now, as much as I hate to talk about it, I feel like I have to mention how, this story really isn't all sunshines and rainbows, and what I mean is that there's just a lot of horniness in Chainsaw Man, which, to be fair, is my least favorite part about it, and I feel like is the main complaint a lot of people will give it, other than, like, the CGI. But if you think that this is bad CGI, then, like, I mean, you clearly haven't seen the 2016 Berserk adaptation. But anyway, going back to the horniness thing, I mean, genuinely, it is important for Denji's character. This is a man who hasn't gotten to enjoy the simple pleasures that normal people take for granted, and now that he has all of it within his grasps, he's fighting hard for it. And this isn't just some random personality choice made by Fujimoto for the fun of it either. Because of his lust, he is tricked and manipulated many times throughout the story, showing just how immature he is, but there is genuine character progression, as at this point in the story where we are currently, he has certainly learned from all of his past mistakes. And to be honest, once you get past the drunk Himeno scene at her house, that's really the last of the major horniness in the show from that point on. But yeah, man, it just sucks because, don't get me wrong, this adaptation has been fucking phenomenal so far, but it's honestly a lot like Attack on Titan, where the story just keeps getting better and better with every arc, so I'm just kind of pissed because literally right as it's about to get to the really fucking good stuff, it just ended. And we're probably gonna have to wait at least, another 2 years, I'd think, for them to animate the rest of it. So I'm excited for y'all to see what's to come in the future when it does continue, because I've said, this many times, I fucking love the story and the characters, and this is easily a show that just means the most to me personally. But yeah, that's all I've got to say for now. Let's get on to my pick for anime of the year, and I know this is going to be a shock to some of you guys, but my pick is actually Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Yeah, that's right. If you'd have told me back in 2020 when Cyberpunk first dropped that we'd get an anime based off of that,
biggest piece of dog shit.
The illusion is ruined.
I would have thought you were the craziest motherfucker around.
Is this game worth it? Does that answer your question?
But Studio Trigger was somehow able to salvage this franchise by taking all the phenomenal parts of this futuristic world and creating their own perfectly self-contained story. The story revolves around this punk kid, David Martinez, who loses his mom in the first episode because of collateral damage. David, while at school the next day, gets his ass absolutely handed to him by this kid and decides to chrome the fuck up. From this point on, the story just focuses on him joining, the edge running crew and all the just shady and corrupt stuff that happens in the underground world of such an advanced civilization as this. But seriously though, Edgerunners just has it all, man. A great plot, amazing characters, really fast pacing that just never leaves you bored. And the music choices? Oh, dude, you don't get any better than this. And on that note, I just want to touch on the characters for a quick second, and just mention how incredibly written they are. This is a 10-episode show, and I felt 10 times more attached to these characters than anything else on this list, whether we're talking about, David, Lucy, Becca, Maine, the fucking Gustavo Fring voice character. It seriously doesn't matter, they're all phenomenally written. Without spoiling too much of, the show and where it ends up going in the later episodes, let's just say a lot of tragedy occurs throughout the second half, and that's what I love just so much about it. It's dark, it's gritty, it's fucked up, and above all else, really just fucking depressing, but is also somehow one of the most enjoyable experiences you can have in an animation format, so please give this a watch. I can't recommend it enough. I'd recommend this more than anything else. Give it a try. And this is my choice for anime of the year.